these formulas that you're going to need to know. One of them was on the test yesterday, area of a sector. I guess you believe me now. All right, that everything was on there. Let's go area of a rectangle. That's length times width. I'm not going to spend much time on that one. Length times width. All right, I am going to spend some time on area of a triangle, even though some of you think, oh, big deal, right? It's just 1/2 base times height. There's another formula I need to remind you of that'll probably be on there on Wednesday. All right, yeah, 1/2 base times height is the classic formula for a triangle. But there is another one we went over during the SOHCAHTOA unit, and that is 1/2 AB times the sine of capital C. And let me remind you what that all meant. So if I have triangle ABC here, A and B represent two sides of the triangle. You need two sides of the triangle. So I'm going to call that side A, that one side B. And this angle must be in between the two sides. Okay, notice 1/2 base times height, not useful here because there is no height. So that's why we're given this one now, that I can have two sides and the angle in between. It's got to be the angle in between. All right, so 1/2 multiply two sides and then the sine of the angle in between those two sides. That is a new formula that they put into the new standards this year. So I'm assuming if they put it in there, they did it for a reason to test you guys on Wednesday on it. So don't be shocked if that comes up. What do we got? Population density. We did a little challenge when I showed you that, what state had the highest, what state had the lowest population density. And they found those numbers by taking the population and dividing it by the area. All right, so, we took New Jersey, which was the highest. They take their how many people are in New Jersey divided by the area of New Jersey. And that's where that number comes into play. We got some 12, 13, 14 to do too. The perimeter, area, and volume ratios. So let me start off with this. To know anything on 12, 13, 14, to even start, you need to know what S1 over S2 is. And just to make a little note on the side here, S1 or S2 is the side ratio. So if you have two similar figures, what's the ratio of their sides? That's S1 over S2. Once you have that, you now have the ratio of their perimeters. All right, whatever ratio the sides are in, it's the same ratio as their perimeters. So everyone go with S1 over S2. That's the ratio of two sides. It's the same as the ratio of their perimeters. But now when I go to number 13, when you have S1 over S2, you do not have the area ratio. Okay, it's not like perimeters. You don't have the area ratio. What you need to do, and some of you may or may not remember this, is square this ratio, each number in that ratio to get the area. So the only thing that's equal to is the perimeters. And then volume, I'm sure you can guess. No, I don't keep it the same. If you want to know what ratio the volumes are in, you're going to have to cube this one. Raise it to the third. All right. The only other one is what, 17? Okay, sum of the interior angles of a polygon. And what that is, hey, here's a hexagon. How many degrees are in a hexagon? Here's an octagon. How many degrees are in an octagon? And the way we find that is we take 180 and multiply it by n minus 2. And n is the number of sides. So yeah, again, like the nonagon question, you had to know how many sides were in a nonagon. Notice I don't have exterior. There is no formula. What do they all add up to? Remember that one? It doesn't matter. Hexagon, octagon, nonagon, decagon, quadrilateral, you add up all the exterior angles, they always add to 360. Okay, so that's why there is no formula for exterior. All right, questions? All right, so there are all the formulas. You do with what you want with them over the next 6 days before the Regents exam. Next topic I got to cover is there will be a construction on there. I have no idea what construction will be on there. I have no idea. You can choose to say, hey, I'm going to give up those 3 points and not study constructions. Or you could say, you know what, I'll do my best to know as many constructions as I can to see if I can get that one right. So what I did for you to at least narrow stuff down, up on Classroom, and you don't need to go there, please. Up on Classroom, I ripped this off the state website, is a list of possible constructions that you should be able to do. All right. If you want to do any of those constructions, you know where I am. Okay, you know where I am. I'm not going to do them in class because I got to pass out the compasses. Some people are taking notes on the Chromebook, and you can't do constructions on the Chromebook either. So that's why I'm not doing them in class. You know where I am if you want to practice it. But at least up on Classroom, I've given you a checklist of different constructions. And also a reminder, if I'm not around or maybe you can't come in after school or to the review session, we always have this on Classroom. And that's all the videos on how to do all these constructions. Well, the constructions we've done this year. Okay, so all the constructions are up there, step by step on how to do them in case you can't come to any reviews. All right, that's all up on Classroom. All right, so I'm just saying no excuses that you couldn't do a construction because I wasn't around. All right. All right, anything there? Okay. I asked for the January 2025 Regents to be either downloaded in the Kami or have a paper copy in front of you. I am no longer going over the topics in your packet. I am done doing that. We spent 7 days on that. You put as much effort as you could into it. We're done with those topics. Now what I need to go over, because let's be real here. I got today, I got tomorrow, and I got Monday with all of you. Tuesday, I'm going to have half of you here because the other half's going to be taking the science Regents. All right, so realistically, I got 3 days, including today, with you to go over like a couple small topics that we haven't gone over yet. Starting with number 5. All right, number 5, January 2025. Again, you want to roll with me, fine. You want to do something that's coming up because you got a big presentation in another class, you roll that way. All right, see you on Wednesday in Gym B. All right, we'll start with number 5. I just wanted to go over all the 5 methods of proving triangles congruent with you. So I got PQR, and then I got triangle LMN with some facts. PQ congruent to LM, and that's it. So which one of these 4 choices would show the triangles congruent? Real quick. Here's our 5 methods. I'll start side, side, side. Anybody want to continue? Side, angle, side. Angle's got to be in between. HL, but it's got to be right triangle only. Angle, angle, side. And even if the side is not in between, or is in between, you could still use it. So there are your 5 methods. Notice what's still not up there. Side, side, angle. Angle, angle, angle. Never going to be a way. All right, so please don't write it down. If you do, hey, go ahead. You know it's going to be wrong. All right, so let's see what I got here. Choice 1. What if QR was congruent to MN and angle R was congruent to N? Is that one of the 5 we have up there? No, that's side, side, angle. That's never a way. So choice 1 is out. Let's keep going here. What if QR was congruent to MN and Q is congruent to M? Is that one of my methods? Yep, that is what method? That's side, angle, side. So that is enough information to prove the triangle's congruent because that is side, angle, side. The other 2 probably will be side, side, angle. Questions? All right, I'm moving 9. Number 9. Vocabulary question. All right, we need to draw in median, LM. And this is exactly why I'm doing this problem with you. L to M. Anybody remember what medians do? Medians go to midpoint. So M is a midpoint. Medians go to midpoints. So that means KM is congruent to MJ. And now you guys can look through the choices and figure out which one. But only if I know what a median is. And we're looking at choice 2, KM 1/2 of KJ. Let me go real quick. Choice 3 would be what vocabulary term? If LM was perpendicular to KJ, that would be a, what would perpendicular? It would be an altitude, right? LM would be an altitude if 3 was true. And then what if these two angles, choice 4, if those two angles were congruent, this would be a angle bisector. Yep. So medians, altitudes, angle bisectors. Questions? All right, moving on. Here we go, 10. This is my one critique of the Regents exam is they are not consistent of what circle fact they're going to test you on. All right, they are not consistent, and there's a lot out there. So we'll go over as many as we can before Wednesday. YK, arc YK is $120. YA is 105. What is angle ASN? If you're doing studying on your own with a group of friends and without me, there is a whole page, one full page on that cold hard facts packet I passed out that is dedicated to the circle facts. It is literally all on one page. All right, vocab. Anybody remember what that angle was called? It's inside, so it's 1 of 3. Central? Is that central? Nope, central comes from the center. Inscribed. Inscribed comes from like this. This, what I'm doing in red, is an inscribed angle because it's on the circle. It's not central. It's not inscribed. Anybody got the third name? Floater angle. That is a floater angle. Okay, it doesn't come from the center and it's not on the circle. So floater angle. Anybody want to try or just give it to you? Okay, remember though, I'm trying to help some of you guys that are going to take a serious approach to studying. If I'm not around and you're not coming to a review, this is on the cold hard packets sheet, one sheet dedicated to everything. Floater angle. You're going to take 1/2 of 2 arcs added together. Added together. The floater angles arc, which is NA, plus its vertical angles arc. So if you look at my floater arc, NSA, look at the vertical angle, KSY, and then I need that arc, which is KY. So there it is. That's the rule for a floater. Adding its arc and its vertical angles arc and cutting it in half. So when we do that for this one, I got a problem. NA is not labeled. I sure hope we have enough. I sure hope we can get there, though. There's a lot of other things I got to worry about than finding NA in this problem. What did they tell us YN was? That's a diameter. Creates 2 semicircles, each measuring 180, right? Part of it's 105. Hopefully you can find the other part. 75 for NA. 180 minus 105. And then I already gave you the vertical angles arc, which is $120. 97.5. Hey, that's just one fact of many. Tomorrow, I think I do another circle fact with you, maybe Monday, but all of them are listed on one page on the Cold Hard fact sheet. All right, go to 12. Another vocabulary term we need to review. BD congruent to D. Okay. All right, let's talk about this word. Mid-segment. All right, I'm not even going to ask. Mid-segment connects the midpoints of two sides of a triangle. Okay, so knowing that DE is a mid-segment, I know points D and E are midpoints. Okay. A mid-segment connects two midpoints of two sides of a triangle. It connects the midpoints of two sides of a triangle. There are two facts you should know about a mid-segment that we have covered. And it involves the mid-segment and the other side of the triangle it doesn't connect. In our case, AC. All right, these are the two facts. They have two relationships. The mid-segment and the side it doesn't connect have two relationships. First relationship, they're parallel to each other. Okay, a mid-segment and that third side are always parallel. And if you ever want to find the length of a mid-segment, it's always half that third side. Okay, it's always half that third side. All right, so let's try to answer this question here. Let's go back to the diagram. Remember, D is a midpoint now. We now know D is a midpoint since it's a mid-segment. So BD and DA all equal to each other. So all three of these are equal, all three of them. Also, there are another pair of segments equal. If E is a midpoint, BE and EC. All right, I got a lot of labels on there. I don't have BD equal to BE though, and I don't have DA equal to EC though. But hey, when in doubt, let's throw some numbers on here. Let's throw some numbers. We got a lot of congruent pieces. Let's throw some numbers on here. We'll throw a number out. BD, how long is it? 4. You got it. So what else is 4? DA, DE. Yes? And can you find AC? Can you find AC now? How long is AC? Can you answer this question? What type of triangle is ABC? I got AB is 8, AC is 8. That makes it isosceles. Yep. Throw some values down if you're ever in doubt. Questions? And I got one more for you. I don't do much here now. A couple problems and then you're on your own. Go to 14 to end it. We are used to having triangles similar. All right, this is the first time we've seen really squares be similar. But we are told they are in a ratio of 2 to 5. So we can start building here because the sides are in proportion. And I already know that proportion. It's 2 to 5. I already know that proportion. They gave it to me. Perfect. What's the 2 going to correspond with? The x plus 3 or the 3x plus 5? 2 to 5. Smaller to bigger, right? So the 2 is going to correspond with x plus 3, and the 5 is going to correspond with 3x plus 5. Hey, if some of you were thinking about doing this instead, same proportion. All right, same proportion. Smaller, smaller, bigger, bigger. All right, let's cross multiply. We're getting 5 out for x, but we didn't answer. Good thing that's not a choice either. Some of us may have circled that. We got to find the perimeter of ABCD. So I plug 5 back in. It looks like the side AB is going to be 8, but we're looking for the perimeter of that, and that's a square, so all of them are 8. So we're looking at 32 for the perimeter. Okay, 32. Here's what I need you to do now. See how many can you get right, 1 through 13. All right, obviously you're not doing the ones we just did, but 1 through 13. Let's see what you can get right now. This is anything. This is anything goes. All right, anything goes. 1 through 13. And you guys know where the answer key is. You want to work on it, fine. If not, hey, no problem with me. You guys know. But I think there's a direct correlation between the effort and the final product.